My name is Ryan Chancoco with the Physician's Edge, also with Bond Digital. Thank you for joining us for this presentation on acquiring, engaging, and converting leads for your healthcare business. This is back to us by popular demand. This is the second installation of a webinar with Tim and Bonnie, who I'll introduce shortly. But before I do, just a reminder, you can use the chat and Q&A function at the bottom of your screen if you have any questions for Tim or Bonnie throughout the presentation, and they're always really good about addressing them. So I'd like to introduce you to Tim Ito. He's the principal at Marketing Nice Guys, adjunct professor at Georgetown, master's program for digital marketing, as well as a career digital marketing strategist for a lot of organizations, including tech and several associations. I learned all of my marketing tricks and secrets from him. So if you like my skills, it's because of Tim. If you don't, it's because of Bonnie. So I'm teasing, of course. Yeah, I was preparing that line. And of course, Bonnie Pandya, one of the most talented digital marketing strategists I know, principal at Bond Digital, as well as principal and co-founder of Marketing Nice Guys. Bonnie has over 12 years of experience working with associations, large and small, in their digital marketing efforts. Truly one of the most talented people when it comes to paid and organic digital marketing. So I think you guys are all in for a real treat. Again, use the Q&A, use the chat, and get settled in, and feel free to engage with us. So Bonnie, I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over to you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Ryan, for that great introduction. So everybody, welcome to this webinar. As Ryan mentioned, this is the second part to what we did earlier. We know it is a totally different audience. We're covering some of the same things, but it's going to be, a lot of brand new information in this particular webinar. This is more around the topic of lead acquisition, lead engagement, and nurturing those leads all the way through conversion. So with that, glad to be here. We already did the introductions. Tim, you want to move to the next slide? So we, as Ryan mentioned, so we are, the founders for Marketing Nice Guys, and our mission is simple. We want to help individuals and small businesses excel in digital marketing. We want to make sure that companies get the most ROI from their marketing efforts. And also we want to make sure that people who are interested in digital marketing, who are just starting out, have a good understanding of digital marketing strategies, tactics, implementation, all those things. So that's what Marketing Nice Guys does, and that's what our brand is. Tim, next slide.
Yeah, so I think as we kind of introduce the topics here today, I think one of the things that we'd love you to keep in mind as you think about it is that we're trying to design this webinar in particular with you in mind, in which, there's no marketing organization on earth that has a lot of resources. So like everything else, you have to focus on those areas where you can really move the needle. I think a few weeks ago, we talked about using a little elbow grease, right? And it's the similar kind of with this week. We're going to really just talk about those areas where you really, really, really need to focus. And then we'll kind of talk about challenges next. Bonnie, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, most of these challenges, I'm sure most of you guys might have also faced this particular challenge. If you're a small business, or if you're, just doing marketing in general, is like, where do you acquire, how do you market your particular products or services? How do you put your word out there? How do you get customers? Some of the other challenges that we have seen businesses face is they have limited resources. Their marketing teams are not, do not have a complete understanding of digital marketing, or they're just inexperienced, out of college interns that do not understand the terms and everything in detail. Some of the other things is people sometimes wear multiple hats in the company. If you're a solopreneur, you may be just one person doing multiple things, finance, marketing, product development, XYZ. So you're not able to concentrate your efforts, on 100% on marketing. The other things is like people sometimes get confused, like, where should I focus my efforts in marketing? There's all different things to do. How do I do it? How do I get organized in marketing? And then along with that is, when I'm doing marketing, how do I measure the success of marketing? So these are the challenges that we have seen companies face, and we'll talk through some of these terms, especially on the lead acquisition and engagement point of topics, and go from there. I want to move on. So so with that, that's our agenda for today. So we're going to talk high level what the marketing funnel is about, just explaining that piece, some strategies and tactics on acquiring lead, engaging leads, converting leads, and then we'll wrap it up with our solutions and how we can help. All right, Tim, you want to take this one on?
Yeah, sure. So, we didn't really cover, when we did this 3 weeks ago, we didn't really cover the marketing funnel to a great extent. We covered it a little bit. I think we wanted to review it this week just because it's important as you guys go out and you market to your customers that you kind of have a basic grasp of how a funnel works, right? So if you look at a funnel, originally this came from St. Elmo Lewis. He actually developed this concept in 1898. So it's been around for more than 100 years. What this is about is there are more people that are aware of your product than are interested in it, than express a desire to buy it, and then actually purchase it. So hence, there's this funnel shape, right, that you want to make sure as you market to people, you want to market to them in all areas of the funnel. In other words, you want to make people aware you exist first, right? So that should be number one. Number two, how do you engage people once they're aware you exist? How do you engage people in that next level? Third, how do you acquire those people so you get them on your list, right? And we'll talk a little bit about this as we go. And then finally, how do you, once you acquire them and once they know you and then once they get a familiarity with you, how do you get them to convert? In other words, how do you get them to purchase? There are other aspects of the funnel as you kind of see it. In recent years, they've added things like adoption, retention, expansion, advocacy. So after you purchase, right, you basically do other things to implement this. You advocate on behalf of it. You tell people about it, right? You can cross-sell or upsell that person on other services. And some people have it as a reverse funnel. Some people do it where you take people from the funnel, the purchase point, and you encourage other people to engage with it, right? Like an influencer might. So the reason this is important is that you have to kind of consider all these things when you're marketing to people. So you want to encourage people, even after they purchase, right, to advocate on behalf of it. When you think about marketing, the number one area, if you think about it, is word of mouth, right? Word of mouth is something that you want to generate as a business because, you get people to purchase something, you get people to use something, you get people to consider it, right? You want all them to tell other people about it, right? That's probably the key in a lot of this stuff, right? And obviously then engaging more people, getting more awareness, getting more acquisition. Bonnie, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but that's basically.
I think you covered everything. I think we can move on.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so on this slide we want to just showcase that in recent times, apart from the word of mouth, like it usually takes on an average, and there's a lot of research done on this, up to 7 touch points to convert a particular person from the time they became aware with your brand. And that is what this particular graph shows, is that, sometimes it's one touch point is not enough. Like, we have seen clients who, or companies who are like, yeah, we are running the social media campaign and we're not getting any conversion. Well, because that's just one aspect, that's just one channel through which you're hitting the customer. You need to expand to multiple channels because, you want to be on top of mind of the user and hit them across multiple channels so that you can help them move through the marketing funnel. So in this example, you can see, somebody's getting aware about the brand the first time through a PR campaign, through a radio ad, then you hit them with an online ad, with an email, then they see, the social media posts that of your company, they read some review, gets familiar with the brand, doing some content marketing, then they start considering the product, you hit them with a direct mail, then they move to the purchase stage. And then from there, you engage them. This is the inverse funnel part of it. You engage them with community forum, with your knowledge base, so on and so forth, so that you turn them into advocates, so that they can,
Hey, Bonnie,
more brand on your behalf.
explain the PPC acronym for everyone who might not be aware.
So the PPC stands for pay-per-click, which is related to paid advertising. We have one of the slides following to PPC, so I'll expand on that one in a little bit more detail. But here it stands for paid advertising on the web. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So with this, I think we'll start on how we can do lead acquisition and some of the strategies and tactics that you can implement with lead acquisition. So those are the following slides. You want to move on?
Okay, so we covered this a few weeks ago. We're going to focus in on one area in particular. So some of you may be asking, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago as well in the webinar, like audience research. I don't have time to do audience research. I just want to do marketing. And I think you should, like we said a few weeks ago, you got to take a step back. You got to think about, right, when we talk about the customer as king, and you've all heard these cliches about the customer being number one, you got to focus on the customer, all these things. It really starts with you knowing your audience, right? So you have to do research on who your audience is. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So there's the first three aspects we covered a little bit when we did it a few weeks ago. It's you have to look at your customer base and then understand kind of who they are. What are their pain points? What are their challenges? What drives them? You have to talk to people, right? So it's important to kind of get on the phone with them, interview them, get them in focus groups, talk about kind of what those things are that your business helps, right? How does your business help solve? And a lot of this is just for existing customers. Quantitative and qualitative data. So you could do surveys. You could find out a little bit more about the psychographics of that individual, which involve really kind of what drives them, right? What are their motivations? All these little things. Qualitative data, so things like website data, right? And what you do is you put all that together in something called a persona. And we covered this a little bit, but we're going to dive into this a little bit more, because what personas are, if you've ever heard the term marketing persona, a persona really is just a picture. And usually what companies do and what organizations do, and small, large, everything, they put together these pictures of individuals, usually like 2 to 3 pictures of their audience, right? And what that helps them do is that it helps them sort of form a picture, so that when they put out content to somebody, so when they do a paid ad, when they do any kind of marketing material, they're writing it to those particular persona types, okay? And it helps them align all their the product they develop, the marketing they do, the sales, and all the other business groups sort of rally around this idea of the customer, right? And so the more that you can get to that place, the better you'll be. Now, I've heard some people, they kind of talk about personas, marketing personas, these are just something that marketing made up so that they make themselves busy, I guess, right? But actually, that's not the point. I think when you think about personas, they really help you kind of laser focus in on those things that are important to those types of individuals. And let's talk about what makes those up. So there's really 6 areas, right, as you think about a persona. One is professional background. So who are they, right? Are they laborers? Are they professional people? Do they work in a particular industry, in a particular business? What are their titles, right? Demographics. So the male, female, age, income, location, race, right? Psychographics. One of the things about psychographics, I don't know, I'll tell you this little aside. A lot of you may have remember that the 2016 election and the firm Cambridge Analytica, right? And without getting political, what happened in 2016 was that Cambridge Analytica basically took a lot of Facebook data illegally, right? It was this firm that was working on behalf of the current president. And what they did, though, was create a model for those in that data called Ocean, which basically looked at the individuals, it was a set of criteria like openness, conscientiousness, et cetera, right? And it kind of ranked them on a scale either way. And what they found was that certain personality types and certain psychographics matched really well with the message that they had. And while the firm itself was discredited, a lot of the model that they created, which was this model called Ocean, was not, right? And in fact, it was found to be very effective at driving people to listen to the message and then engage with the message, right? So, which is what they wanted for that campaign. And you can kind of see the results of that with the election. Psychographics is really powerful. It's a very powerful, if you can understand somebody's challenges, somebody's ambitions, somebody's values or opinions and beliefs, you can resonate, your message will be better able to resonate with them when you send it out. Okay, so don't discount the value of understanding those things and doing the research to understand those things, because it can be very powerful in terms of a marketing message. Okay, so that's one. Next, behavior. You know, behavior is kind of like, where do they go on the internet? What do they respond to? What does it say basically from like data that you might get from analytics, right, about those things? The more you understand that, the better you'll be. And then obviously we talked a little bit about challenges and pain points. And then the last element that we recommend for a persona is, how do you help? So you've created this picture of the person. How do you help them? Okay. Now, when you do all these things, you can kind of put it together. Then you have to name your persona, right? So when you put it all together, right, you've got a picture like this. So this is something that we presented a few weeks ago, but it's Anna the Ad Hoc. You know, she's a professional. She seeks help counseling for medical issues related to stress. She visits websites to learn more about the background of her affliction. She's these demographics. So her psychographics, goals, ambitions to be able to function, right, with their affliction, stay abreast of popular new developments or treatments, access to those in the same boat. So maybe it's like a community element, right? Behavior, right? And so on and on and on. So as you put together this picture, right, the point is that you put together the picture so that when you do paid media targeting, when you write content, when you write them an email or do social engagement, right, you have the ability to then write to that type of person. Does that make sense? So as we go forward, doing this audience research, you got to do it if you're going to do these other things. You have to understand the persona, right? You have to understand the picture of who you're talking to. If you don't have time to do a lot of audience research, I would say this: do at least the minimum, which is try to get some core, use these core 6 areas, right, that we talked about, and try to figure out like a picture of those individuals that are your current customers, for example, and then figure out like how, okay, based on this, the rest of the marketing kind of flows from this. But if you don't do this piece, you won't have the ability to really resonate with a lot of those individuals. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So content. We talked about this last week. So obviously, after you do your audience research, you want to be able to develop content that resonates with those persona types, right? So if I want to resonate with Anna the Ad Hoc, I'm going to want to write let's say a blog about that, or I'm going to want to write a blog about the challenges or issues she faces, or do case studies. As you can see, there's a ton of options here for content types, right? And like we said, you want to kind of hit various aspects of the funnel. You want to have content that allows you, right, to target people at different parts of the funnel. So we're going to give you some examples. Obviously, like we said, you got to focus which ones you want to do. We're going to give you some examples of each content types in each part of the funnel. Okay. One of the new ones from this week, where we didn't do it a couple weeks ago, was images. You know, when we look on websites, we've looked at some of the websites that many of you have. You know, there's a couple things that I'd say you want to make sure you have: professional quality images, particularly of your services, right? If you can get it of your services, that's probably the best, right? Because, and we'll talk about why that is. If you can't get professional quality images of your services, stock images, health, medicine, happy patients, right? If you don't have much budget, there are two places you can go, or a couple, there's actually a ton of places you can go now, but unsplash.com has got a ton of royalty-free photos you can use. Actually, a lot of the photos we use in our business come from Unsplash. Pexels.com, also another site with royalty-free images. And all they ask is when you use a photo, you just credit the photographer, right? While we'd love to get Brad Pitt as a photo of Brad Pitt, a professional photo, we can't really license that photo, right? So it's not, you shouldn't use content that you don't own the copyright to. What this allows you to do is use photos and images that you can use royalty-free, right? So usually what happens is you just ask to credit the photographer, like Madison Laverne in this case took this photo on the right. Makes sense? Okay, so the benefits of number one of professional quality images of your services, it allows people to quickly and visually understand a concept, right? And then two, it provides that personal emotional connection to your services, right? So if you can get images of your services, it makes it that much more personal. People visually digest content, right, in a way much quicker than they do reading a paragraph about it, right? So if you have your interaction with customers and you can get professional quality shots, that's probably the best. Benefits of both, right? I'd say images also visually enhance blogs and website pages, right? It's a good way to do it so that it breaks up the content for people. Two, it's critical if you're going to do some of the things that Bonnie's going to talk about later, which is going to be social media. You need photos that you can use, right? If you could have a post and just do a link of text to, right, your blog or whatever piece of content you have, but you get much better engagement with photos. So having a photo on your website is going to allow you to get better engagement in social and other places. Okay, so definitely don't, images doesn't seem like, oh, I'm doing a great job acquiring, but you are, right? Because what you want to do is you want to create an image for people, particularly for your brand and for your content, right? And it looks a certain way, right? And the more that you can do that through images, the better you're going to be, particularly as you market in digital. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. We talked about this one a couple of weeks ago. We'll repeat it again here. It's case studies. The one thing, and this kind of hits sort of at that more middle funnel level, lower funnel level. What you want to kind of do with case studies is you want to show proof that something you do works, so that your service works, right? So from a marketing standpoint, these are really targeted more at individuals showing intent. In other words, these are people who are thinking about your services and they just need proof, right? So what case studies do is they help provide that proof to people that the services you provide are valid, right? And what does this involve? So really what you need is the patient's permission. You need to basically call them up and say, hey, could I do a case study of like what your ailment was and how we fixed it, right? And again, those are things you can do for relatively very little money. And you just need to get the patient's permission to do it, right? And what are the benefits, right? You help convince customers who are expressing that intent. It positions you as the expert for that particular thing. You can use it as part of a journey toward conversion. And Bonnie's going to talk a little bit about email journeys and other things that you can put together. And then you can use it in paid media to target similar audiences, right? Who are looking for those kinds of solutions. All right. Okay, next. We talked about a little bit about this a couple weeks ago is ebooks. So another way to position yourself as an expert. And this is more that really dead middle funnel area that we talked about, right? What you're trying to do with an ebook is you're trying to acquire people, right? But you're providing, and it doesn't have to be like in this case, I think we talk about Seth Godin, and he released an ebook several years back called Unleashing the Idea Virus. It really sort of, in our industry, in our marketing industry, it led him to become really a towering figure. Now, he wrote hundreds of pages for this. You don't have to write hundreds of pages, right? You just have to position yourself as the expert in it where people can download it and then, right, you get them on your list, right? So developing content for the purpose or the strategy of acquiring those names, right? So you put this behind a form, you develop content. You can acquire names and contact info for those who are interested in the topic, right? So here's the example at Write. Elizabeth Baham, the Dr. Baham did this downloaded ebook on breast wellness, right? So obviously, who is she focused on? She's focused on women, right, who are concerned about breast health, right? And obviously, this is a great way, right? You just basically come in, you download her ebook for free, you put your name, and then she can market to you and about like your interest in this, right? It's a great way to acquire customers at that particular stage who are expressing interest in a particular topic, and you have services on that topic, okay? All you really need for this, it's a Word document, and you can export it to PDF, and you can create a nice ebook. There are also other services that will help you create really good looking ebooks for relatively very little money, right? Less than $100. So these are all some options for you as you kind of go forward. This one is probably the big one that I'd say, if you don't do, you probably should do. In fact, we were just on a call earlier this morning where I was talking to somebody about the importance of having reviews and testimonials on their website. It is perhaps number one, because if people are trying to get to know you and your services, right, getting testimonials about how your service works or how good it is, right, is particularly important. Right. And many of you do this, some of you may not, and I'd suggest that for those of you who do not, it's almost like a necessary thing to try to do if you can. Try to get more than one, right? That's one thing. Second, try to add a photo if you can. And the reason to add a photo is it gives a little bit more of a human perspective of it, right? It's not just some name. There's an individual behind it. It provides additional proof, right? It's almost like additional social proof where this person is a real human being and a real person, right? If you can, and you have multiple physicians or multiple professionals who are client facing, right? Try to get testimonies for all of them that are part of your practice too, right? And that's going to make them more easily accessible. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about search. So search was the other one that we covered a little bit. We're going to focus on one area. There are 5 keys when you think about SEO. There's on-page relevance, there's site quality and the user experience, there's speed, and if you have questions about any of these, we can also kind of connect with you to figure out how to measure the speed of your site. There's a lot of easy services out there for you. And make it easy to contact you, right, is the second one the fourth one on the website. And then off page, there's things like brand, inbound links, link building, and there's the importance of local SEO. We covered that heavily last week. What we're going to do this week is really focus on number 1. We're going to talk a lot about on-page relevance, right? Performing keyword research and doing a lot of those things that you need to do up front. Okay, so if any of you though have questions about SEO, particularly numbers 2, 3, 4, or 5, we're happy to kind of answer some questions about that as well as we go. Okay. One thing about SEO is we like to say SEO is sort of it's the long-term view, right? So SEO sometimes takes a long time for it to take effect. So it's not something that's always going to happen immediately. You might make some changes on your website to improve the SEO, but you may not see the results of that for a bit, right? Because obviously Google's got to crawl, 1 trillion pages. They're literally crawling trillions of pages. And it may take some time for them to find your page, to see who's linking to it, to do all those other things. So, and that takes some months to happen, right? So just remember, if you're doing an SEO optimization, it just may take some time, but it's really good to do for the long term because it's like an investment, something you do now that's going to pay off later. Whereas paid search, which Bonnie's going to talk about, is something that you do now, and you could see the impact within a day or two, right? So as you kind of think about it, SEO is something that you should think about long term. Okay, let's just plant that seed and we'll keep going. The things we're going to talk about today are, we're going to focus on, what we suggest is focusing on what are those keywords, right, that are really driving traffic to your website, and then how can you improve the pages so that for those keywords, your pages in particular, your on-page relevance are better, okay? A few things about this. This takes work, okay? If you get somebody kind of saying to you, they're gonna improve your SEO like that, that's not the way it happens. What happens with SEO is it's a lot of attention to little details, right? On every page that you produce, okay? So your mindset has to be like, I'm gonna put in the effort on all these little things that's gonna pay off later. And to give you an example, let's say, let's say you're talking about, I don't know, breast cancer, and you wanna optimize for breast cancer. Okay, well, the page, right? The title tag, the title of the page should have breast cancer in it. The URL that you have should be breast cancer, hyphenated, breast hyphen cancer, right? The H tag, the headline tags on the page, particularly the H1, which is generally going to be the title of the page. But even the H2 tags, which are the headlines that you see in the articles, et cetera, or the H3 tags, they should be about breast cancer or something related to breast cancer, okay? You're gonna have, and that's what we call related keyword usage, right? So other things related to breast cancer might be, I don't know, I'm not a medical person, but Bonnie, give me something related to breast cancer, something else.
I don't know, something related to maybe a dentist.
All right, forget it, Bonnie. All right. So anyway, what we'll talk about is like there's keyword relevance to the main keyword that you're trying to optimize.
And someone said mammogram.
Mammogram. Oh, yeah. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. That was nice. Thank you for that. Mammogram. So if you're, and we'll talk about kind of why that is, but link text. So if you have text off page pointing in, right? This is basically where you get some inbound links. The inbound link text should say breast cancer, right? The link text of on the page, if it's pointing out to other articles, should also say breast cancer or mammograms or other things. Your meta description, right? Which is basically, if you do any search in Google, you'll see the meta description show up. That either is put in by the company or that Google just decides what the meta description is. You'll see that in the search. It's the 2-line description of what that page is about, right? And you want to obviously have the best meta description possible so that you can get people to click on, right, what they see in the search. It is not a factor in ranking, but it is in terms of usefulness, like we said. The image alt text. So if you've got images on the page, you want to describe that image in text, right? And it equates to link text and captions too, right? So same thing. If you've got link text, captions, you want to make sure that you use breast cancer in there. Typography, right? What you bold on the page, what you put in italics, what you put in bullets, what you make bigger, all those things matter in terms of search engine optimization, right? So obviously, if you put breast cancer italicized, that Google's going to notice that as they go through the process. And then keyword location. Obviously, keywords are better in the body and then higher up than they are in the footer or the right-hand navigation if you've got a right rail or a bottom part of the page.
Yeah, one thing to point out that these are the elements on the page which are important that Google looks into. We are not talking about keyword stuffing, which is, just having the word mammogram all over the place in every line.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not what this is pointing to. It's pointing to, it's referring to having including the keywords on these elements of the page, which is relevant that Google looks into for ranking terms.
Yeah, it's a good point by Bonnie. And I think we don't want to just say, hey, just repeat these keywords everywhere, right? What Google's really looking for when they look at search engine optimization is really robustness, right? So they're looking for an authoritative, robust piece, right? And the way that they find that authoritative piece is a couple ways. Are people linking to it, right? So that's probably number one. You want to really get inbound links. You want to get other sites to point to your pages if you can, okay? And then two, it's really, it's having a good piece that has a lot of those related keyword usages, right? So if you do an article on breast cancer and then you don't mention mammograms, right? Or other terms that are related to breast cancer in there, Google's going to look at that, right? And it's called a topic model that Google has, right? They are going to basically say, oh, you know, that's probably not as authoritative a piece as something else over here where we do see that, okay? So when you think about SEO, it's important, again, you don't want to focus on every single thing. You want to focus on the top 20 opportunities that you have. And particularly as you go through your pages, make sure these things are optimized, right, for that keyword or those sets of keywords that you really want to optimize for, okay? All right. So I have a friend, Myron Rosmarin. He's a pretty much an SEO guru, and he has this test which he does, and I sort of stole it from him. And so for those of you, does anybody know the duck test? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it must be a duck, right? So similarly, right, when you go through a page, right, you can do a duck test. And again, we kind of did it with this one, thyroid cancer, right? So if the URL includes thyroid cancer, if the title tag includes thyroid cancer, the meta description includes thyroid cancer, the image alt text, thyroid cancer, H1, thyroid cancer, has multiple mentions of thyroid cancer, and thyroid cancer is typographically emphasized. There's link text pointing to the page that includes thyroid cancer. And there are a lot of commonly correlated words. I don't know why I was able to come up with it in this one. Glands, lymph nodes, swollen, medullary, right? There's a preponderance of evidence that this page is about thyroid cancer, right? So as you go through your process, think about doing a duck test to help you kind of get there. Okay, so Bonnie's going to talk about social media and then email and paid search and everything.
So yeah, thank you, Tim, for the SEO piece. I'm going to move fast on the social media and the next slide because I want to concentrate a little more on the lead nurturing part. So Tim, you want to move on to the next slide? So social media, you know, I mean, how do you use social media to connect with your audience? Now, if we look back to the marketing funnel, we can use social media at each stage of the funnel. So you can use it for the awareness and engagement purposes where you're just posting, you know, all these great content that you develop based on the content marketing tips and the audience research and everything that you've done. You can use that content to do postings on social media. And, you know, there are several tactics. One of them is, you know, you create a regular posting calendar and you find out the best times to post on each one of the social media platforms, which are relevant to your brand. So let's say if you're B2C, you might be more inclined to do Facebook and Instagram, versus if you're B2B, you might be more inclined to do LinkedIn, or maybe a little bit of Facebook, depends on if your audience is spending time on those particular channels. So utilizing, you know, the content that you have developed, you can post, do social media updates on a regular basis. One of the other things that we tell our customers is to create a personality for your brand on social media. You know, just, you know, like follow a regular theme in the way you're posting, interact with your customers, you know, respond to post, show some engagement so that, you know, the customers also feel connected with your brand. So this is for the top of the funnel part for the awareness and engagement. If you want to do lead generation from social media, a lot of companies do it. I'm sure you guys have also come across it on your social media channels, is through paid advertising. That's one of the best ways to do lead acquisition. These are normally ads that you can target the audience, your particular audience, based on their interest, their demographic, so on and so forth. And you know, you can show ads to them, and you know, trying to get them to convert into your particular marketable database. The last piece for the bottom of the funnel part is where a lot of companies get the most bang of buck from social media marketing, is through retargeting. And retargeting is, I'm sure you guys have all come across this because a lot of companies do it. is if you visit a particular brand's website and you go off from the site and then you go on social media, or if you're browsing the web, you start seeing ads related to those products and services that you just visited. It's just retargeting that they're doing. Sometimes it can get creepy, but companies do it smartly. They target it based on particular products and services that you have visited so that they can keep their products top of mind, for your brand. Recently, I just realized even now, if you guys have already, like I've cut the cord, I'm no longer with cable and I use, Netflix. Sling is one of the channels that I have. Companies are doing retargeting on Sling. If you visit websites now, and then if you go on Sling, you'll start be heavily targeted with ads on Sling TV. So that's one of the ways companies are doing retargeting now. Tim, you want to move on to the next slide? All right, so I'm going to talk about paid marketing a little bit more. Go on, Tim. So paid marketing, one of the main channels where companies do paid advertising is Google. We just spoke about search engine optimization and how valuable it is, but at the same time, it's very time consuming. It could take 6 months, 9 months. It takes a lot of effort to get ranked. While that's one of the benefits, like we should always be interested in organically ranking. In order to get us on top of Google search results quickly, we have to look at Google Ads. And the reason for that is it gets you the results faster. You create a campaign now, you can be up on Google page 1 within a couple of hours. It's paid advertising. So yeah, it gets you there. But the other thing is Google Ads has a very good ROI. On average, if a company is spending $1, they're bound to make $2 off Google Ads. The reason being, you get listed on page 1 and 90 or more than 90% of the traffic per data, if they're searching for something, they don't go past page 2 on Google. So you want to be on page 1, you want to get those clicks, you want to bring people onto your website. So, you get results faster, it's on-demand activation, you can turn on and off quick, you can make adjustments as needed. And then the third thing why it's effective is because it's measurable. You know what keywords you're getting the clicks on. You know what search terms people are looking for, and then you're getting those clicks. So you can optimize based on, which are the keywords which are getting you the most leads, and you can spend money on those, and you can optimize it that way. Here I have an example of healthcare industry conference. You can see the top 4. I just have a screenshot of 3, but now Google shows 4 ads on top of the organic results. And then you have your organic results. And then at the bottom, you have 3 more ads. So there's a lot of real estate on page 1 for your ads to be showcased on. There are several types of ads within Google. You have search ads, which we have here on the screen as a screenshot. You have display ads. You can do video ads. You can even do Gmail ads, like people with an email, and those tend to also be effective if you're doing retargeting. There are several ways that you can show your ads. One of the ways is by keywords. So you create, and this is why initially we spoke about doing the keyword research. Like I always say companies, they should start with the keyword research because then they can utilize those keywords within their SEO efforts and within their paid marketing efforts. So you know which keywords you want your ad to show up for. By audience interest, based on their demographic, based on the kind of products and services they're looking for, if they're in the market for a particular product, Google has all that information, so you can utilize that to target ads. And retargeting, we just spoke about it. So Tim, you want to move on? So this just, I'll run through this quickly, but this slide just shows in general, like how you can utilize Google Ads for all stage of the funnel. So for awareness, you want to target your new visitors, people who are in the market, who are looking for products and services. You can utilize all that data and you can showcase ads to them. Whereas people who are now within your marketing funnel, who have already shown interest with your brand, you can retarget to them. So you can create ads and you can create content for those particular audiences, and then you can retarget to them. And the content could be something like a white paper, data sheet, webinar. You can entice those people to come back and learn more about your products and services so that you can move them down the funnel. And again, if they're bottom of the funnel, again, you can use some retargeting campaign until they take the action to convert. So this is just one example of how you can execute a Google advertising campaign by being part of the marketing funnel. Tim, move on.
Yep.
Next slide. All right, so those were the two tactics we spoke about. We spoke about content marketing, SEO, PPC. These are all about how you can acquire those leads. Now we're going to talk about how you can engage those leads. One of the ways is marketing automation. For any companies, we recommend that they invest in a marketing automation system. The marketing automation system is different from your regular email system. Like your regular email system might be like a MailChimp or Constant Contact, that you have your marketing lists and you batch deploy your emails to your marketing list. That is what the main purpose of that particular system is. Whereas a marketing automation system, what it does, it gives you a full 360-degree view of your lead. So one of our initial slide, we had the 7 touch points. So a marketing automation system will show you each touch point that a lead had with your particular brand. So you can go in and you can be like, oh, this guy, this particular user, how did he come to know about our brand? So the system will let you know, okay, he first saw a PR, then he clicked on an ad, then he saw a social media post, he read some reviews, he has been visiting XYZ pages on your site, so on and so forth. So it will give you a complete view of the leads that you have within your database. Why is it important? Because you can utilize that information to create customized and targeted campaigns to that particular audience. What that does is that helps them convert much better than your regular batch campaigns, which are your newsletter or your one-off emails. And you can also trigger campaigns based on their interest. If you have, let's say, 2 products on your website, and a particular user is more on product A and he's researching it and he's learning more about it, you kind of get an idea from the system that, he might be interested in product A. So you can send them information relevant to product A and not product B, right? So that's just one example. Tim, you want to move forward? Next slide. So with that, what are some of the ways you can engage or you can nurture your audience? Obviously, one-off emails are your newsletters, or any other one-off email that you deploy. That's the way you can connect with your list. The other one is drip campaign. Drip campaign is more sort of like the email series that happens over a period of time. It's just linear. Example could be you download something from a website like a white paper, and the company just puts you in an email series where every 3 or 4 days you're just getting an informational piece. So that's like a regular drip campaign example. And the third campaign type that you can do with a marketing automation system is a triggered campaign, which is based on a certain action that a user takes. So in the earlier example, what I was giving about the product A and product B, that's the trigger campaign. If you know that a particular user is spending more time on product A, then you can trigger a campaign based on that particular action and put them into like an email nurturing program. Tim, you want to move on? Oh, one more slide. You missed the slide.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Go back here.
So,
oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So with that, these are just some examples of some of the marketing campaigns, both trigger campaigns, drip campaigns, or even one-off campaigns that you can use to connect with your brand, and you can do with a marketing automation system. So welcome series. You might have seen that, when you become a member of a particular site, they put you in a welcome series. They'll send you information about your membership, and then they'll keep sending you information over a period of time so that they onboard you as a customer. So that's an example that you can do with a marketing automation system. Anniversary or birthday emails. My wife loves this because she gets a lot of coupons and deals on her birthday. We have an example here of a jewelry brand. So, like Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, all those companies, they know your birthday is coming up. So they'll hit you up with some sort of coupon or some sort of something, entice you to make that purchase. Reminder campaigns are, again, these are triggered based off a particular date or based off a particular action. Here I have an example of Nissan, who is like, hey, your service is due. You bought a car, your service is due, come for service. So that's like a reminder campaign. VIP offers. This is more for, and we have an example here again of a cosmetic brand. You can create these campaigns if you know that a user is more engaged with your particular product. So if a particular user is, or a particular lead is spending a time on your website, they're learning more about your products and services, they're a little more in the consideration phase of the funnel, you can give them a little bit nudge by, enticing them with a sale sort of a campaign. A re-engagement series is you can reconnect with your past customers because those are some of your best leads. So you can kick them off in that particular campaign. And another example that we love is abandoned cart. So if you have an e-commerce store, or if you're selling services where people have created a profile but they have not completed the purchase, you can trigger a campaign based on that, and you can convert the user that way. All right, I think we're moving fast. Tim, last slide. I think we have the last slide now, wrapping it up. So with that, just want to wrap it up in what we just covered right now. So lead acquisition. The way you would do it is you do some research on what your target audience is, and then you optimize your website, do some social media, maybe do some paid marketing to acquire those leads, and then you engage those leads with a marketing automation system, with a content marketing plan. You create content for your particular audience. You create nurture campaigns within your marketing automation system so that you keep your leads in touch with your leads. And then finally, again, you do some retargeting, you do some abandoned cart, some more triggered campaigns so that you can move your leads all the way through conversion. So, that's a very high level view of how you would acquire your leads, engage, and move them through your marketing funnel. So with that, I'm going to move to the next slide. So we just wanted to mention how Marketing Nice Guys and how, what are our products or services and how we can help you build out this particular marketing funnel. So we have a range of marketing services, starting with training. So, that's one thing we do is we do training really well. Tim is a professor of digital marketing at Georgetown, and we also work with a few other trainers. So, we can, if you are an individual, a solopreneur, or you have a marketing team that needs training on digital marketing, happy to connect with you guys, and so that we can build out a training program and talk about these marketing strategies and tactics. We have another product called as Marketing Help Desk, which is more sort of like guided marketing support for your marketing campaigns. So let's say, you just want to have experts by your side to guide you so that you can talk with them on a regular basis, discuss your marketing campaigns, discuss your strategy. We're happy to do this. So we have membership for that, and you can just sign up to be a member, and you'll have consulting calls every month, your website audit, your marketing plans provided to you on a regular basis so that you can create your own, marketing campaigns. And then we have marketing consulting, where it's kind of like do it for you. If you just hand over the keys of marketing to us, and we are happy to build out the campaigns and execute it on your behalf. So those are, our services that we provide. Tim, anything you want to add?
No, that's pretty much it. You covered it.
Okay, sounds good. You want to move on?
Yep.
Hey guys, thanks so much. A few in the last 5-6 minutes we have questions.
Yep.
Someone asked, could you give some relevant examples to healthcare business, like a physician practice, medical device, anything from your experience? I think the question came up around the brand stuff, Bonnie, when you had the slide up with the different companies and kind of their logos and kind of targeting.
Yeah.
I think it was a slide before, like the birthday.
Yeah, I can sort of take that one quickly. Some of the examples that Bonnie gave were probably more consumer oriented products. I think the same thing in a healthcare business. So, you can do a welcome series for people who get on your list. It's not any different in that way. You can send, if you know a lot of data about the customer, you can send those birthday messages. You can send a lot of those things. Bonnie was just giving really examples from other companies that do it, but a lot of the stuff that obviously he was talking about it, particularly in terms of those triggered series, where Bonnie was talking about a lot of things that are automated, right? That they're basically, you have this data, so automatically you don't send this manually. What's great about marketing automation is it triggers the email right on its own. So if you know somebody's birthday, you can send them a message saying, hey, happy birthday. If you know exactly the date that they're supposed to come in for the next service, right? Bonnie talked about it in terms of, I forgot which the example was, but I have a dentist who sends me a reminder a month out, and then they'll send me a reminder and they'll do a text message like the day before. So those are examples where you can get people to make sure that they engage and use the services that you want to, right? Particularly if it's follow-up and things like that.
Yeah, and happy to provide more information. We have a good amount of customers in the healthcare business where we have helped them out, particularly with SEO. Not to name any, right. So we one company called Cowork Medical that we helped out with. So that was in terms of just helping them rank organically on Google for a lot of search terms related to medical co-working and medical office space. But in terms of creating targeted campaigns, using that example, so that particular company had a lot of different audiences. Like you had your physicians who are established physicians, and then there were an audience who were just resident doctors. So creating campaigns targeted to each one of those audience in particular, so that we can engage each one of those separately with content marketing and help them move down the funnel. So that's one example that comes to mind right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
happy to discuss in more detail with with the person that asked the question.
And before we forget, guys, can you drop your email addresses in the chat just so people can reach out to you?
For sure. So you guys are happy to reach out at contact@marketingniceguys.com. It's on the screen right now.
If you drop that, and obviously anyone can reach out. And then the last question here in the last minute, I don't know if you have any comments on this.
Yep.
For healthcare startups, would ASO be more valuable than SEO?
Yeah, and I could take that one. So I'm assuming you're talking about App Store optimization.
That's what I was saying.
Which is, it's interesting. I was just having a conversation with somebody this morning about this. And, if your business is really mobile focused, obviously App Store optimization is critical, right? It's particularly if you have an app that you want people to download. So the person I was talking to had an app that basically helped them go through therapy for loneliness, right? And when you're trying to optimize for something like this, you want to make sure that you're showing up for those particular keywords. So yes, it's absolutely valuable. I think though, I would say the answer to your question isn't one is more valuable than the other. I would suggest it's both, because most people are going to try to figure out, right, particularly where are most people going? They're going actually on Google still, right,
Google.
to do a search. So you want to be able to optimize for both. Now, a few things about the App Store in particular, what I'd suggest if you can do around that is reviews. Reviews are critically important for the App Store, right? So the more that you can get customers or existing customers to try out your products and services there and then review them, that's critical for people to be able to take that next step and download, right? And that's regardless of whether you have a paid app or a free app or something else, right? If you charge in-app purchases or if you do it up front, it doesn't matter. You really, really, really want to make sure that you get reviews done for that. So that's one. Two, I think make sure when you look at App Store optimization in particular, you're really looking at what the competition is doing. I think the issue that the person I was talking to had was that, you know, she was trying to optimize for a few terms, the name of her app, but there was so much competition around that she was getting buried, right? So make sure that when you choose the app name, you're choosing something that's pretty unique, that you have a pretty clear path toward. And that would be the other thing as you think about it. Bonnie, I don't know if you have anything else on that to add.
No, I think you covered that pretty much.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for adding your email, your direct emails in the chat. Bonnie at marketingniceguys.com, Tim at marketingniceguys.com, and of course the contact at marketingniceguys.com for general questions. A lot of information to unpack in an hour, so feel free to reach out to Tim and Bonnie with any questions that you might have. Sorry about the talk. We'll let them calm down. That said, Tim, Bonnie, really appreciate it, and look forward to the next one.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Cheers.